Good evening, everyone. My name is David Wood. I'm the programs director of Early Music America. We want to welcome you to another early music trivia night with the Bach and Beethoven experience and special guest Alfred Lemon this evening. This is the second of a co-presentation of BBE's normal trivia that they have on Friday. We've been doing these during our well-tempered musician wellness series to give us a little bit of humor for wellness. And we'll have one more of these in March, by the way. And we're happy to have the BBE team back with us this evening for a specially themed program. We're going back in time a week and 2 days to Mardi Gras because there wasn't enough Mardi Gras last week. And so we're venturing back into Mardi Gras. So I want to welcome everyone here, and I'm going to turn it over to Thomas and Leanne and Brandy, and have you all take it away, and let's do trivia now.
Epic. Well, thanks again for having us back, David. And thanks to Early Music America. We love doing this. My name is Thomas Allen. I am one of the hosts of BBE Live and also one of the directors of BBE Live. I'm a countertenor coming to you from Chicago, Illinois. And now my fabulous colleagues will introduce themselves.
I'm Leanne Dale Ragusa. I'm another director from the BBE. I'm the resident flute player, and I'm streaming to you from Bloomington, Indiana.
And I am Brandy Berry Benson, another one of the directors of the BBE, resident Baroque violinist. And I am thrilled and honored that we could have Alfred Lemon show up and join us for this episode. He's the editor of the French Baroque music in New Orleans. And if you haven't got your copy, hold it up nice and high, Leanne, for the Yes, you got to get your hands on this book, because this is really cool. Just, if you've ever wondered, is there possibly a Cajun connection to the French Baroque? There quite very much is. So Alfred is going to school us on our own trivia.
Yes.
But yes, thank you, Alfred, for joining us tonight.
Well, it's a pleasure being here tonight.
Fantastic. All right. Well,
it's much nicer here than in Chicago.
Probably.
I'm sure it is.
Probably Indiana too.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we always kick off, if I can get this pulled up, we always like to kick off. Is that the right screen, David? He's muted. He's muted.
No, you need I think that's not the right screen.
Oh, that's right. I love technology. All right, we'll do this one more time. Share screen. So we always like to kick off every show with our little opener. And then it is right now. It is right now. And then we'll get right into our trivia.
Nottingham Vale, boys, Nottingham Vale, no liquor on earth is like Nottingham Vale. Nottingham Vale, boys, Nottingham Vale, no liquor on earth is like Nottingham Vale. Nottingham Vale, boys, Nottingham Vale, no liquor on earth is like Nottingham Vale. Nottingham Vale, boys, Nottingham Vale, no liquor on earth is like Nottingham Vale.
Epic. And of course, this is our special themed Mardi Gras episode in honor of our special guest. And so we always kick off with our first game, hosted by Leanne. Leanne, take us through the rules.
Leanne.
Oh, did Leanne? There she is.
There we go.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you. And looks like she froze again. It's not just me, right? It's not just me.
No, it's not just you. She's a little frozen.
Well, her little happy party emoji's going, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
While we wait for her to come back, maybe we can interrogate a little bit more of our guest. Brandy, do you have I have to say, I was really super duper excited when you joined us, because I remember when we were doing a program of Cajun music a few years ago, we were like, oh, we wonder if there's this connection. And Brady was like, oh, I'm sure there is. And then your book came out, which was really exciting. It was so opportune. I guess oh no, wait, is she back?
Yeah, that was so weird.
All right. Well, we'll go back. We'll pick that up later. Okay, Leanne, are you ready to go?
I am. Sorry, everything just kind of froze. All right, so this is the first game, The Sordid Lives of Composers, the Mardi Gras edition. So how it works is I'm going to read a paragraph. There will be 4 multiple choice answers on the screen that you get to choose from. But before you give us your answer, there will be a little thinking music. So the first question. Carnival is an assemblage of all sorts of entertainments: comedies, opera, gambling, balls, costumes, masks, feasts, bull racing, parades, jesters, pretty much whatever goes. Cities like Nice, Venice, Rio, Cologne, New Orleans, and many others are all home to well-known carnival celebrations where a great deal of debauchery takes place before the beginning of Lent. Venice has a long tradition of carnival celebrations, and many classical composers have written music to celebrate the momentous occasion. In particular, a French composer wrote an entire opera in 1699 called Le Carnaval de Venice. This composer was a leading French opera composer. He wrote many tragedies and music, opera ballets, 3 books of cantatas, a requiem, and other sacred works. Who was this composer? Was it Rameau, Compra, Cavalli, or Lully? But first, a little thinking music. And Alfred, since you're our guest, we ask you first.
Yeah, we didn't tell you that part.
I am torn. Y'all didn't tell me this was part of the deal.
Surprise.
As you read the things, I sort of had a panic attack.
Oh,
On one thought, I would say Lully, but he was born in Italy, so he was very much associated with France. He did like the New World a great deal. So I am just puzzled. I'm going to say I don't know.
that's okay. Does anyone else have an inclination or a thought or anything?
I mean, I was gonna say Lully as well, to be totally honest. I am a little like maybe it could be Rameau, but I don't know. My gut's just saying Lully.
I thought the 1699 date is what is getting me.
Yeah, Brandy's much more into the dates, but
I know. I started trying to think right away of the first Rameau composition.
Yes, right. Well, because Rameau is, a bit later. I thought, yeah. So for some reason, I'm kind of leaning towards Compra a little bit.
That's what I was thinking by process of elimination.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, literally, it would be because of the dates, that because for me, it would be either A or B, and I'm really leaning towards B for Brandy. So.
Okay, good. So we have a couple B's and a couple Lullys, right?
Mhm.
All right. Well, the answer is B. It's Compra. Yay!
Excellent.
Okay, now, when we come back to when y'all interrogate me, we come back to the relation of Rameau to New Orleans.
yes.
Ooh, yes.
Definitely, you have to tell us. That's where you get to trivia us.
All right. Well, let's go on to the second question with their masks on.
I thought this, when I first saw this, I was like, is this like the Mozart Salieri like on the dance movie?
Well, normally pre-Lenten carnival celebrations last only a few days, but in 18th century Venice, carnival lasted nearly half the year. They really like to party. It started up in October and ran until Christmas, and then got started again after Epiphany and continued until Fat Tuesday. Masks were and still remain a popular feature of Carnival in Venice. In the 18th century, partygoers wore masks to hide their identities for one night. Disguises like these were featured prominently in operas composed for Carnival as well. One prominent Italian composer wrote the opera Tito Manlio, which was first premiered as part of the Carnival of Venice in 1719. In addition to writing more than 40 operas, this composer wrote many instrumental concertos, a large body of sacred choral music, sinfonias, chamber music, and roughly 90 sonatas. Who was this composer? Was it Puccini, Vivaldi, Scarlatti, or Pergolesi? But first, some thinking music. Alfred, any guesses?
Oh, this is going to give me a mental heart.
Oh no!
Oh, yes, I'm going to have to rush to the hospital. You know,
I'm thinking,
I mean, B and D sort of fit a lot of that.
Okay.
I mean, but
that's what I was thinking. But
yeah,
and it's the 90 sonatas that's throwing me.
Yeah. Yeah. Although you said choral music, right?
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah, he
But
has some.
Vivaldi wrote a good amount of choral music. So did Pergolesi.
Also true.
Now, when it comes for y'all to interrogate me, let's bring up Pergolesi and Saint-Domingue, present-day Haiti later on.
We will get to that. We will get to that.
And it all, of course, comes back to New Orleans.
definitely. Yes.
The original Garden of Eden, yes.
Swamp of Eden.
Okay, well, I guess we have to take a guess.
Just pick something.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go with Vivaldi. I'm just going to throw it out there. He's my guy. And B for Brandy.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go Scarlatti on this one. Just because so you said some sacred cantatas as well. I know he wrote a bunch of those, I think he did.
But he also said operas, and
well, he did write some operas.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. They aren't important enough for me to know the name. I don't know.
Okay.
And I thought y'all were the early music people.
See, we all got degrees in this, and it's funny. This trivia game reveals to us like did we get degrees in this? But let's see. I mean, I guess, and I don't know that much about Puccini, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
So I'm gonna go see. Just
So we have Vivaldi and Scarlatti. Any other guesses before I reveal the answer?
Come on, Alfred, David, throw your lot in.
Oh, I was still going with Vivaldi just because I don't really have great reasons.
Yeah, hold firm.
That's right.
Sounds good. All right. Well, the answer is B, Vivaldi.
Hey!
Yay!
Dead strong, yes.
All right. So the next one, and if you can't tell what the picture is, this is actually titled "Accidents in Quadrille Dancing," and they're running into each other.
That's cute.
So the quadrille was the most popular dance in the 18th and early 19th centuries. After 1803, New Orleans dances employed both an English quadrille, which was preferred by Anglo-Americans, and a French quadrille, which was the Creoles' dance of choice. Many collections of these dances survive. Music probably danced to during this time was by this American dancing master, choreographer, and composer of dance music, who was born into a family that had close connections to the court of Louis XIV. For 6 years, he was the dancing master at the Paris Opera before arriving in Philadelphia in 1790. He was a choreographer and teacher of social dancing. As a composer, he wrote hornpipes and other solo dances for his students, minuets, allemands, and waltzes for duos, complex French contradances, cotillions, quadrilles, and English country dances for larger groups. His main publications include the dance music collections Fashionable Country Dances with Figures and English Steps for the 13 States, which is a very long title, United States Country Dances, a new set of cotillions with figures called after the American Navy, favorite cotillions, and 2 new favorite cotillions. Was this composer Playford, Duport, Pointil, or Walsh? But first, some thinking music. Alfred, do you know this one?
Absolutely not. And you know, and this
Good
is
answer.
this one I think has a trick in it because of the connections to France. And I'm just wondering if there's 2 B and C are both French names, and I think they're put in there sort of as a distraction. So
Keep it coming.
I
Keep
would
it coming.
never be good on Jeopardy. So let's just say A, John Playford.
I'm going to help you out here, Alfred. It's neither A or D.
Yes.
So
A or
that's
D.
one of the Frenchmen.
Yes, I tried to trick
See
you.
what happens. See what happens when you get your brain involved.
Don't do that.
It's definitely not A or D, those guys.
So did she go BBB for
I
all
know.
of these?
That's
literally what I'm wondering.
One.
Yeah, I'm like thinking it's got it. For some reason, B, that name seems familiar, especially when I'm looking up quadrilles and stuff. And yeah, I'm thinking it's B.
I was leaning toward B as well.
Is the
I'm
group
gonna-
consensus?
BBB all the way.
You're correct. It's
Yay!
yes.
Oh, I shouldn't have gotten my brain involved.
And Brandy, I got this question actually from the music you sent me.
Oh, that's
Oh my
yeah. That's
Way back
why
when.
it's familiar. I was like, I feel like I've run across this name before,
Nice.
but it's been a while.
Yeah,
Nice.
Okay.
She's mentioned on too.
Brilliant.
Yeah, usually I think in your music, Brandy, you labeled him as Landrin in all the things you sent me. So
Probably.
but that's okay. But good job. Yeah, I was trying to trick you. I went all with B's to see if anyone would notice.
BBB.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, if you don't mind, David, let's keep tagging along.
Let's do it.
And this is very opportune, Alfred. So I should have actually nicknamed it Hour of Revenge and Cat Doppelgangers. So this usually comes after I'm completely thrown under the bus by Leanne because I don't know any answers, but I got a couple, so that's great.
Good job.
BBB. And so how this particular game works is we'll go to the next screen and we'll see 3 names of composers, although I changed it for the first one and you'll see what happens. And then we'll listen to a sound clip anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute worth of music. And using our knowledge of either the composers or style, we'll take a wild guess, hopefully educated about who or what it was. I will reveal who it was. I'll reveal who the performance was or who the performance was by. And then I will show a picture of a loosely affiliated cat, either having to do with the composer or my feelings at the time that I put together the presentation. So with that, I changed up the first slide because you know what? It's other than your research, Alfred, it actually was kind of difficult to find a lot of kind of early Baroque vocal stuff for me. Somebody else may have been able to find it. So what I did was, for the first one, I went to France to look at sort of more native folk style songs. And I have 3 specific styles from France. Branle Dosso, Kan Hadiskan, and Rigodons from the Alps. And here's going to be your music. We're going to take a wild guess at what this might be and where it's from and the specific style. So here it comes. Are y'all ready?
La 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 lo, la 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 lo.
Au-devant altitude, Wang n'a pas mon compte de Ghana.
Deuil d'azan saltut, Wang a pas non croque de Ghana.
Au documentre non doit voilà, la 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 la
la lo ken magre no
Guerre mais au salon majorité de son armée.
Sergent major titré de son
L'armée on est Louis et Mal, on la la non la la non la non la Bon mais on n'a pas me batti e ne vido per mahonge.
All right, so that's the little bit that we got thrown in there. It's really cool. I can't wait. This is one of actually my favorite things. I did know this one before doing research. So, any thoughts? Is anybody familiar with the style?
I recognize the language as Breton, so I think it's I think it's Brittany because it sounds like a lot of that, a lot of the Breton stuff that's similar to like Welsh music and Sean-Nós and style. So I think it's the Brittany, but I'm not familiar enough with. It didn't sound like a Branle to me. But I'm guessing B.
B. All right. Other guesses.
I mean, I was like listening hard to like be like, does any of these words sound remotely like any of the I'm gonna go with B as well, just because that sounds like a compelling argument, David. I will go with that.
And I'm gonna go with B as well.
You gonna join the club for B or?
I think it's B.
It's been a winning choice all evening, so I think we should.
I know.
It has been a winning choice all evening.
Hey.
It totally was. And Kanha Descant translates as, voice and descant, right? So one cantus and then the descant. And you're right, it's Breton. And it was cool that you identified that because, of course, the Bretons, there's a lot of Celtic overlap there, as well as what was going on in like Iberia, which is interesting. And of course, the Celtic nations up in the Celtic Islands. But yeah, so this is really cool. You see, it's always accompanied by a dance. Oftentimes it's just the singers overlapping one another, but this particular version, they included drums, and then there's a choir that jumps in later. It's actually really pretty amazing. And they have these massive parties of hundreds of people that get together and just do these line dances, which is so much fun. And this was done by Jean-Pierre and Brendan, and I just think that particular performance is fantastic. So good job, everybody. I didn't stump you on that one. We'll see about the next one, though. Oh, and here are my cat doppelgangers. I forgot. I was trying to find cat dancings, and there you go. All right. So, trying to find classical or Baroque music in New Orleans, again, very difficult. However, these three composers are associated with New Orleans. And so this is not a vocal work. Rather, this is instrumental. So there's about 30 seconds, and we'll see how good you are on your New Orleans affiliated composers. All right, so I'll just tell you, I could have eliminated one composer on the list, but beyond that, I wouldn't have actually gotten this one right either. So, any thoughts of who this might be?
This one is really very tricky.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because it's definitely not Gottschalk. But, Philippe Larocque studied composition by copying André Grétry's method book. And we have his copy at the Historic New Orleans collection.
Oh.
Now, the thing is, I don't recall ever seeing any music of Larocque, so I think it's Grétry. And also, Grétry was enormously popular in New Orleans. The first opera here was Sylvain. He was enormously popular all the way up until the mid-19th century, when they were taking like operas and choruses and adapting them for church use. So I think it was probably Grétry.
Other thoughts?
Wow. Well, I was actually thinking Gottschalk. That's the only one I really have any sort of remote familiarity with. And as far as like playing them, anything that I've played like this, I would think him. And that's all I've got. That's all I've got going. So I guess I'll throw my hat in for C.
Okay, so you got a C. David,
I was going
Leanne.
between A and C. I'm going to go with A. I don't really know, but I'm just going to go with A.
2 A's and a C. David, your last one.
I think I might go with A also. It didn't sound like Gottschalk that I am familiar with, but that's not like that I know a lot of it. So I'm going to go with A. I'm going away from the B thing, so we'll see if we're all wrong.
All right. Well, I have to say that was well reasoned, because it was, in fact, Andre, and it was Sylvain, the overture from the opera, and it was really interesting. So he was that was the first opera to be performed in New Orleans. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Exactly, the first known opera. We know it's the first known opera because someone wrote an account of having attended the performance. Now, to really confuse you,
oh, good.
was Grétry performed during the French period or the Spanish period in New Orleans?
I mean, since you just asked that question, my assumption is the Spanish period. But
Grétry was very popular in Spain and very popular in Havana, and New Orleans reported to Havana. So a lot of opera came direct from Havana.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad that I threw this up there, because we learned quite a bit from you. Thank you for that. I love it. Well, I only managed.
I'll remind you, if I don't have the right answer, I'm wonderful at creating facts.
Oh, good.
Awesome. Well, I only managed to stump Brandy, so okay, that's fine. But here is my cat, Doppelganger. This little guy is found in Istanbul, and of course there aren't that many cat statues up there, but there you go. So, great. Thanks so much. And now we're going to round it out with Brandy's game.
Yes. So this game is called Two Truths and a Lie, and making some unlikely connections. Although these statements, you'll probably whiz right through all of these trivia. So let's get started. So number one, I'm going to read 3 statements, and then you tell me which one is the lie. The first statement: the origin of Mardi Gras can be traced back as far back as the Middle Ages in Europe. Number 2, the first Mardi Gras celebration took place in 1703 at the small settlement named Fort Louis de la Mobile, which is actually in Alabama and not in Louisiana. And then number 3, Pointe de Mardi Gras was named and founded by the French-Canadian explorer Jean-Baptiste Lemoyne de Bienville, which I totally butchered. I'm from Texas, sorry. And,
The lesser Louisiana, yeah.
Yes, the lesser. Very funny. Not lesser, just a totally different country. All right, and so now for a little thinking music.
I get. Can I ask a question? Are we defining the first Mardi Gras as being like the American version of Mardi? Yeah, that's a dumb question.
Yeah,
Okay, just
New
making
World.
sure.
Yeah, sorry, I should have put that the first Mardi Gras celebration in the New World qualified.
Okay.
Okay.
Alfred, would you like to school us?
Well, I think there's truth in all three.
There is truth, yeah, but where is the lie?
The point of Mardi Gras is something that dates back from the early French explorers, and they there was a plaque that was placed at the spot, and some years back, the Rex organization, Rex is king of Mardi Gras, they sponsored a little expedition to try to go and find the little plaque. Of course, Mobile came before New Orleans, so it was highly likely that there was a Mardi Gras in Mobile in 1703. But then Mardi Gras can be traced back to the Middle Ages, especially the idea of throwing things, like you see these plastic beads being thrown off of floats. So, that's my answer.
I'd say I'll give you a little suggestion. Brandy likes to throw everybody off with like a word. So like it could be a very minute, it obviously probably is a very minute detail in one of these. I'm going to go with B just because I have no idea. I'm pretty sure number A is correct. Number B seems like something that might be a little off.
There are a lot of details in there that could be slightly skewed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is a really good one because there's truth to all three of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so final answers. Are y'all settling in on this middle one?
Yeah. Bye.
Yep.
All right, and you would be correct. It was the one that had the lie. Excellent.
B for Brandy. Yeah. Okay.
Yay!
Yeah. There we go. All right, let's get to the next batch here. So, statement number 1. Mardi Gras became a legal holiday, I should also say, in Louisiana under the Mardi Gras Act in 1875. Second statement, New Orleans was founded before Ponce Mardi Gras was founded by Bienville. And then the third is the Mardi Gras colors of purple, gold, and green were in honor of the Russian Grand Duke Alexis Romanov when he visited in 1872. So which one is the lie? And now a little thinking music.
Can you help us out, Alfred?
Yeah, Alfred, please.
What are we looking for here?
The lie.
You're looking for the lie. So, and one of these statements is a lie.
Well, definitely the second one isn't correct.
Oh,
So,
oh, good.
Oh, good. We'll go with B.
because
Good answer.
New Orleans is not the oldest city in Louisiana. It was founded in 1718, we believe. Mardi Gras colors of purple, gold, and green. Well, we do know that the Russian Grand Duke Alexis visited in 1872, and that was the origins of the Rex organization. But I've always been told that the colors symbolize different values, and I honestly don't know if they're associated with him. Purple, green, and gold are the official colors of Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never thought about when Mardi Gras became a legal holiday. I can tell you this much, in the early 1720s, they were having wonderful little Mardi Gras parades where people would join together and march about town playing, little instrumental pieces. But I never even occurred to me when it became legal.
Do we? But Alfred, do we still feel good about B? Like, is that the one
I
we
still feel good about B.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I think the team answer is B.
This has been a very B heavy night.
Yeah, that's totally ours. Yes. Well, you guys would be correct. Go team. It was B that was the lie. And because New Orleans was not founded before Pointe du Mardi Gras. There we go. Excellent.
A Mardi Gras act. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool little tidbit there. All right. All right, and here's the last batch of statements here. Statement 1, Mardi Gras music has its origins in Africa, the Caribbean, France, Spain, and Native American chant. Second statement, Thomas, I need your coaching again. Je voulais-lu.
Actually, that was pretty good. Good for
one
you.
popular Cajun tune that can be traced back to medieval France. And then the third statement, the Ursuline sisters first settled in Acadia before making their permanent home in Louisiana. So which one is the lie? And now for some thinking music.
All right, Alfred, you're the guest.
Oh, had I known this, it would have made me too nervous. I would have been up all night studying. Well, I mean, the Ursuline nuns came to New Orleans in 1727. There had been Ursuline nuns in Canada prior to their coming to Louisiana. But the Ursuline nuns came here directly from Normandy, from Rouen. So it wasn't like they stopped someplace on the way over. So I think that could be misleading. Watch, I'm proven wrong.
Well, I'm like 99% sure that B is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as far as number A, like, unless those all look correct to me, because they would have interacted with all of these different people and cultures because they were a major port city.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think I'm with you on number C. I think Brandy's trying. I would have guessed that one anyway, but based off what you're saying, I think that sounds like that might be misleading.
Yeah. C.
Yeah. C here.
C.
Unanimous C.
Good job, team. You got it again. It was, in fact, C.
Awesome. That was all Alfred's doing, so I don't know why he's all nervous about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course.
I'm a professional worrywart. I get paid by how much I worry.
Oh, well, if we could all get paid by how much we worry, that's excellent.
And I worry a lot. I'm the ultimate professional nervous Nelly.
Oh, no, that can't be. Well, we're so to make you more nervous, we're at the part of the show where we ask you all of your family secrets, all of your offshore bank accounts, all of that good stuff. Where's the Mardi Gras treasure hidden in New Orleans? You gotta.
And I've been thinking of all sorts of mean questions for y'all.
Oh no.
Oh no.
But you wanted to talk a little bit about, for instance, Rameau's connection to New Orleans. Like, that would be really interesting to hear.
Okay, who can tell me what is Rameau's connection to New Orleans? Oh, come on.
I can talk to you about why he and Rousseau didn't like each other, but maybe not, maybe not that.
No, it's because of Les Galants.
Oh, yeah.
There was a group of Native American Indians. The chief's name was Chicago. They came from upper Louisiana. They traveled down the Mississippi River. They departed New Orleans for France. They appeared in France at the Théâtre des Italiens. They also met the King of France, and preserved in the French National Library is the speech that the Indian chief Chicago delivered to the King of France. Rameau witnessed the performances, and he later wrote a piece called Les Sauvages, which became one of the most popular keyboard pieces in France. And when Les Ans Galants wasn't a home run at first, he added the fourth of Les Sauvages.
Cool.
And it involves a Frenchman and a Spaniard vying for the hand of an Indian maiden. And so it's a bit of a prophet with Spain and France vying. But it's a fabulous story. Some of the Indians were baptized in Notre Dame Cathedral. I think one was even married in Notre Dame. It's just a fabulous story, and there was nothing unusual about Indians traveling to Europe during this period. They had been doing so since about 1521 when they visited Spain, and a little bit later, the Indians from Brazil started visiting France.
I actually did not know that, being Native American, part Native American myself. Wow, that's neat.
Alfred, we know you're a proud New Orleanian. Thank you. New Orleanian. I speak English. We know
you're a language island.
Well, I'm personally really how you're so passionate about New Orleans history and the connections with music, the connections to Europe, and you've already dazzled us with kind of your knowledge. Like, why is this so interesting to you, other than just the fact that you are from New Orleans?
Well, for me, it's this way. New Orleanians love their history. They're very frequently very passionate about their history. But our history is much richer than we think it is. You know, who would think that there would be a group of Indians that would sail from New Orleans and go meet the King of France and dance and perform before Rameau? You know, the whole story of Manon Lescaut, is related to New Orleans. We have a very long tradition in the performing arts. For example, in terms of theater, there was comedies being presented in New Orleans in the 1750s, but there was the son of the royal botanist in New Orleans, who Bienville took back to France to be educated. And his name was Etienne Viel, Viel, and he became a very well-known professor of Latin at the Sorbonne, but also wrote a good number of plays that were morality plays to educate people about morals. When some of the early missionaries left for Louisiana, of course, very early on, they were first really going to Mobile. There was a series of poems written about one missionary going off to the great Mississippi. And we don't think of the artistic climate in these very early days of New Orleans, how the Europeans depicted it. And for example, but there's, and with the case of Les Ans Galants, Les Sauvages, other French composers began writing themes and variations on it. So it really shows that sort of mixture of culture starting in the very beginning. In regards to my question of Pergolesi, and Saint-Domingue. You might wonder how that relates to New Orleans.
You bet we do.
Yes.
Well, and Port-au-Prince and Saint-Domingue, every Christmas, they would have a big concert spirituel, and it would always open with the Stabat Mater from Pergolesi. And, you know, people always think of the Caribbean impact upon New Orleans, you know, in terms of the more popular musics. Well, there was a young girl who, at age 14, her ancestors were slaves, her grandparents were slaves, but she was free. And she made her debut, I think it was the 1760 Concert Spirituel on Christmas evening, as an opera singer. She became the first great French singer of color. We know she went to Paris or to France. The ship records tell us that. We have no indications of performances. But as time went on, she developed quite a repertoire. And, you know, she'd be singing some of the music where the text would have one meaning, say, to a European singer, but yet another meaning to someone who was whose family had been enslaved. Well, she eventually moved to Havana, and I think it's, I forget the exact date, around early 1800s, she moved to New Orleans. She became quite popular in New Orleans, and she there was a public benefit for her in New Orleans. Her funeral was in the St. Louis Cathedral, and she was buried in the St. Louis Cathedral Cemetery. So that shows, you know, this relation between Saint-Domingue and New Orleans and Havana. But looking to the future, one of my jobs at work at the Historic New Orleans Collection is to produce a series with the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra called you know, Louisiana's Music, America's Cultural Heritage. And this year, on September 22nd, we are going to recreate the first performance of Ninette Ferrand, this wonderful young singer, that she gave in Saint-Domingue at Port-au-Prince, the Christmas concert. We are working with Pedro Mimmelsdorf and several singers that he's trained to do this, and a small ensemble, special ensemble that he's going to work with from the Louisiana Philharmonic. And one thing to remember is we hold these concerts free in the cathedral, and the cathedral only holds 900 people. So how do we make it worth the expense? Well, we've been streaming the concerts now for 14 years. The first couple of years didn't work too well, but now we've got it well. We have a very strong educational outreach program, and the total audience is about 30,000 now. So, and when COVID started, we were probably one of the first COVID-themed concerts, because the town was shut down the night before the concert, but since everything was set to go, we just streamed it live.
Wow.
So it just shows you how New Orleans is part of this multicultural environment. And then what's the relation of the Ursuline manuscript to the slave music of Saint-Domingue and the Caribbean in general?
Alfred has read my mind. This is great. All right.
Well, there's a mass that was written for the use of slaves. It begins with the Foles d'Espagne as the introit, which the slaves would sing as they walked in chains to attend mass. And each one of the mass movements is based on a air from an opera of a popular song. The Kyrie only has a series of dots there, which indicates it could have been plain chant. But the offertory for the slave mass is one of the same, they use the same music that was used, I forget which number it is at the moment. Had I done my homework well, I would have the number right there. But one of the same pieces in the Ursuline music book, they chose to use as the offertory for the slave mass. And everything, it's a wonderful adaptation because it talks about how we have no money to give, so we give our body and our life, etc., etc. So stay tuned, and I'll try to remember to make y'all aware of this. Hopefully we'll have everyone in town by September 22nd.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's supposed to show you how rich the music history is of New Orleans. You know, in the early 20th century, the great Talma, Napoleon's favorite actor, who's so important for the history of costuming, they offered him $100,000 to come to New Orleans for a season. $100,000. You know, that was a lot of money in those days. You know, New Orleans was quite up and with it. But now let's see who's involved with the Bach and Beethoven experience.
Well, it's the three. So Thomas and Leanne and myself, right? And so we are the three directors, and then we have a number of performers that we call on for different projects.
Okay, so I feel poor David is going to be left out on this.
That's totally fine.
And I developed these questions for the Bach and Beethoven.
Oh, no.
I warned y'all in the beginning that we people down here talking.
I thought you were joking. Oh, that sucks. Okay.
No, listen.
And Leanne
We talk a great deal.
points
Okay.
out early.
Yeah, her connection
What is the relation of Beethoven to New Orleans?
Oh, you know, that I honestly don't know. I do not know.
Want to give me a wild guess?
A wild guess? Oh, actually, would it have to do with Robert Burns at all? Beethoven's connection there into this with the Scottish songs, and maybe some folks that he borrowed text from, that he used their text.
I was going to say, I don't know. I thought it might go through more Napoleon or something like that, but.
Well, yeah, that's true. He was a fan of.
Well, do you want a hint?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. There was a Polish guy by the name of Emil Johns. His father was a very highly trained artist and painter. Emil Johns was a pianist that was trained in Vienna, and he moved to New Orleans directly from Vienna. And in 1819, at the Théâtre d'Orléans, he premiered a Beethoven piano concerto. We don't know which one, but it was the first one. It's the earliest recorded performance in the United States.
Oh, really? Oh, that's pretty interesting.
Now, what would be, you know, there's always centennials going. And also, Emil Johns was a good friend of Chopin. Chopin dedicated his Opus 7 Mazurkas to him.
Oh.
To Monsieur Johns de la Nouvelle Orléans. And legend is he discouraged Mr. Chopin from moving to New Orleans. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But, you know, have y'all ever heard about the Germans in New Orleans?
No. No. This is some sacrilege we've just created.
Like,
online.
I'm like feeling. You were saying how you're like wished you had studied all night. Now I'm really wishing I had studied all night.
You may not want me back.
Yeah, no,
Oh no, we do. We do.
we do.
No, New Orleans has always had a very large German population, even with French. Basically, a lot of Germans were promised land in the Louisiana province. They came here, they began arriving about 300 years ago. And basically, they were trapped in New Orleans. They were promised land in Arkansas. They couldn't get to Arkansas. So they were given land on the Mississippi River, the German coast, Côte d'Allemont. And they supplied the city with food. So imagine what composers would they have been accustomed to hearing that style of music coming here late 1720s. It would have been Bach. But then if you fast forward 2 centuries to 1884 and 85, there was a great big World's Fair in New Orleans. And the Pilcher Organ Company built a great big, enormous organ that actually parts of it still survive. And Professor Pilcher would play 2 organ recitals a day on the exposition organ. And he had recently returned from Europe. And imagine playing 2 organ recitals every day, substantial organ recitals. And they were so popular that what he was going to perform was always listed in like the front or second page of the news. Well, of course, it was the Bach Bicentennial. So he was introducing all of the wonderful organ works of Bach, such as the Great Prelude and Fugue in E minor or C minor, or transcriptions of Bach cantatas and stuff like that. So, you know, we are a very ecumenical city music.
Yes. Oh my God. This sucks. I know we're getting close to. We have to wrap.
I think we're a far greater musical secret than people think. But can you imagine in the 19th century, 2 theaters playing Giselle to sold out audiences? And the National Theater, talking about the Germans, they would have opera translated into German. So they would have Tosca done in German, in German for the German population.
Wow. I did not know any of that. Thank you for enlightening.
Well, there's very few people that do.
So we don't feel bad about it. That's why.
In the middle of the night. But no, that's why I bring you back to the series of programs that I gave you the link to, Musical Louisiana, because that is what this series is designed to explore. You know, just what is the musical heritage of New Orleans. The great tragedies is that the early jazz musicians, their knowledge of classical music is not fully appreciated. You know, Jelly Roll Morton decided to become a pianist when he heard a male pianist play and recital at the French Opera House. And if you were a jazz pianist and wanted to work in Storyville at one of the bordellos, you had to be able to play a transcription of an opera overture for piano.
Oh my God.
And the wonderful thing is the music exists today. So I'm so happy you invited me.
I have to say, this is the fun part about.
Yes.
Well, we don't really get paid for this, the job, but like the fun. This is the fun part about this is like we get to hear really fascinating things like this. Like it's impossible to know everything about everything, but to be able to learn little snippets about New Orleans that I had no idea, right? Like this is really incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing all of that info. We didn't even get to touch like your work on the nuns. Like, not really. I'm glad you brought them in, but like, there's so much more to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the tragedy is, New Orleans suffered numerous hurricanes, numerous wars. I can tell you exactly how much they paid to have the Cathedral Music Library bound in 1801. But when they did the binding, they did not list the inventory of it, which is tragic. So much of that has been lost. Same thing with the French period. That's in Canada, a great deal of music survives there. And there's several good recordings of Canadian Baroque music. But at the same time, who would imagine that the Spanish governors had such love of music? One of them, Miro, heard that there was a harpsichordist that had a harpsichord in New Orleans. And so he sent people looking for him to bring him to New Orleans. Bernardo de Galvez, who there's a portrait of in the U.S. Capitol because of his contributions to the American War of Independence, he brought a composer here specifically to compose music in the Spanish style. And later on, when he went to Mexico, wrote a series of guidelines for theaters that became rather important, where he outlawed such radical things as smoking in theaters and set times for theaters. So, we have a lot to be proud of. And we're not bashful in talking about ourselves down here, as you may be getting. So,
very true.
Well, Alfred, where can our friends at Early Music America and our BBE friends find more information about your work and what's coming up?
Okay. Well, right now we're sort of in a strange period.
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
Understood.
For example, I can send you the date. I don't have it. We're recording it this Saturday with the LPO because chamber music was very popular in New Orleans in the 19th century. The Schumann Piano Quintet was always being performed here. And so we're recording a performance of it this Saturday to be shown on March 17th to 18th. And I could send you information. Of course, in all of our explorations of New Orleans music history, we try to show how composers throughout the history have depicted New Orleans music. But I think the great thing, in my opinion, will be the performance of dedicated to the memory of Ninette Pirard, the American, the first French singer of color to achieve fame. And Pedro's working real hard. We're having to, we want it to be as authentic as reasonably possible, given the circumstances. But who would expect that in New Orleans?
I mean, I guess we do now. So, like, after being schooled, so.
But and one of the things I have to say is it's quasi-defunct now, but New Orleans Musica de Camera, I think they've been, their radio show has been on for maybe like 30 or 40 years now, which is quite something. And Skip Simpe, the harpsichordist based in France, he's actually from New Orleans. And so we try to do our bit.
Seems like he had. Awesome. Well, we probably need to wrap up, right, David?
Yeah, I think unfortunately we can, have many future conversations and still be diving into it. But yeah, and I want to thank Thomas and Brandy and Leanne, if you're watching, whose internet connection was not great, for putting together another great trivia show, and Alfred for being our guest this evening. So thank you all. And we'll be announcing the March date, but also if you can't get enough of the trivia, Fridays at noon, correct? Or 12:30? Noon Central time, on the BBE Facebook page.
Tomorrow we got Elena Mullins on, right, Brandy?
Oh, great.
Yep.
Wonderful. And so every Friday you can catch more trivia throughout that. You can also find out more about our Well-Tempered Musician Wellness series, which continues throughout the end of March, in terms of a lot of offerings. And then we're actually going to be rolling this into our regular programming and having a couple of things every month that are going to be wellness themed throughout the month. But we've got more upcoming sessions about Baroque dance. We'll have another actual dance session. We're going to be doing a panel with a bunch of great choreographers and dancers later in March. We're going to be having a conversation about bagpipes in early music. We're going to be having all sorts of Mental Health Monday check-ins and all sorts of things. So you can find that at our website, earlymusicamerica.org/wellness, and also find out just about Early Music America's mission and our membership at our website as well. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Thomas, Brandy, and Alfred for being here this evening. And
my apologies for being so verbose.
Oh no, you shouldn't apologize for that at all.
I really don't apologize. It was great.
right, and we'll see everybody else soon.
Thanks so much.